Hello, Herman Deal, the real deal here. I'm at a Latin market waiting in line. I'm going to buy some pieces of meat to eat because I was hungry and I just wanted to buy something quickly. And then this gentleman is standing in front of me, African American man in his 60s, not Hispanic. He was, American, Afro American, but not Hispanic. And he tells me, "Hey, do you mind getting me just a little bit of rice and a little bit of beans, just a little bit. Rice and black beans, just a little bit." And I look at him and I could tell he's a man in his 60s. He kind of had a big belly, like a lot of men do, right? When they're in their 60s. And we had a discussion and I didn't buy him anything. Nothing. And I have zero regrets about it. I believe I did the right thing. So keep watching as to why I believe I did the right thing. So let's set the stage here. There's all over Miami, La Placita, Fresh Markets, Presidente, Sedanos. There's tons of Latin grocery stores. And so I was in a place kind of like this in Miami. And these stores, they have a deli area where there's food that's typically cooked, kind of like you see here. And I was waiting in line to get meat. And then, as I was saying earlier, this African American man asked me for some rice and beans. And I could tell by the size of his belly that he probably already has diabetes. And then he confirmed it because he tells me that he has diabetes and he's actually taking metformin. And it was weird that he mentioned that he has diabetes and taking metformin because, I mean, by looking at him, I'm already thinking this guy has diabetes. And as I'm thinking it, he tells me he does, and he's taking metformin, which is it lowers insulin sensitivity, but it doesn't cancel out a high carbohydrate meal. It doesn't cure insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. It's just a drug, just decreasing the symptoms of diabetes, but doing absolutely nothing to cure or reverse diabetes. It's what standard medicine gives you when you're sick, because remember, in general, medicine doesn't really want to cure you. They want you to keep taking drugs forever. And medical doctors are taught this way. I mean, medical doctors are medical doctors. They prescribe drugs. That's what they are taught in school. People get surprised, like, but shouldn't medical doctors try to get to the cause of disease? And I'm like, yeah, but they're not taught that in medical school. You're taught to give drugs, and drugs just usually cover up symptoms and cure nothing. And this gentleman wanted white rice and black beans. And look at the glycemic index of white rice. It is like the worst type of rice we could eat. But let's get something straight. Any rice at all, even wild rice, which is supposedly the healthiest one, it just has a lower glycemic index. That just means that it still has carbohydrates, which is still going to break down into sugar, still not good for you. I mean, if you're diabetic, in my opinion, if you have already type 2 diabetes, why the hell are you even eating rice? Like, you should avoid rice completely, all types of rice. But white rice is the worst. And now look at the beans. Black beans are not much better. I mean, it's better than white rice, still 30 on a glycemic index. Only pinto beans would be worse, but it just doesn't matter. Why, again, if you have type 2 diabetes, why would you eat beans? That's like telling an alcoholic, it's okay to drink beer because it's less alcohol, like 3%. Light beer, it's just 3% alcohol. You can drink light beer, sure. Just avoid the whiskey, the straight vodka, the straight tequila, but drink the light beer. Like, if type 2 diabetes, like, why in the world would you even consider eating beans, in my opinion? Here's an example of what happens when you eat meat, an animal product. And this is literally asking the question, can diabetics eat turkey meat? Glycemic index zero, zero. carbohydrates 0.06. I mean, it has great protein, vitamin B3, B6, selenium. Turkey meat is free of saturated fat, as if that's a good or bad thing. Saturated fat is not bad for you, first of all, okay? But this is the crazy thing. I had great difficulty finding charts that show that meat is like zero glycemic index. Every chart seems to show other foods. They don't even give meat as an option. And I think this is sort of a conspiracy theory, but let me show you what I mean. Most charts show something like this: glycemic index, what's low, medium, and high. Meat is not even on here. No animal products are on here. Why? I don't know, but like 80% of the charts are like this. They don't even give meat as an option. Here's another example: glycemic index, grains, vegetables, fruits, dairy, and then it talks about protein. But it doesn't include animal products. No animal products here. It's just beans, protein that your body can't absorb completely well, that is still plant-based, not animal products. And I'm like, oh wow, I thought they would include that here, but they don't even include it. So it's like not even introduced. It's not even an option. I finally found a proper glycemic index of foods that includes meats and fish. Look at the left of this chart. All the meat, all the animal products: catfish, anchovies, bass, beef, flounder, game birds, goat, halibut, lamb. It's all zero, baby. It's all zero in the glycemic index. So every doctor on earth, if they really looked out for your health, and if a person's type 2 diabetic, they should tell that person, hey, maybe just for a little while until the diabetes goes away. You don't have to do this forever, but for a little while, why don't you just do a carnivore diet and just let's see if that has a result on the diabetes? And guess what? It almost always does. If it's type 2 diabetes, it almost always will result in often a complete reversal of all the diabetes. So to finish up with the African American gentleman, I explained really briefly. I just basically said, but rice and beans, that ends up becoming sugar. It breaks down slower. It's better than junk food, but it still becomes sugar. It's still carbohydrates that break down into sugar. You shouldn't be eating that if you have type 2 diabetes. And he kind of like, and then I offer him, I'll buy you a piece of meat. I don't care if it costs more. I'll buy you a piece of meat because I know that's what you need. That's what'll help you. And he literally said, it's all right. No. And he walked off, asked the lady behind me, and she ended up buying him the rice and beans that he wanted, continuing his carbohydrate addiction, because that's what it is. It's an addiction. Okay, he has type 2 diabetes. He wants to eat rice and beans. He's like addicted to the carbohydrates. It's a real thing. And I have zero regret, zero, telling him no. And I'll tell him no again. However, I'm a nice guy. Or maybe not. Maybe I am an asshole. I don't know. But if he wanted a piece of meat, I would have done that for him. And yet, I still don't blame him 100%. Why? Because the charts I was showing you earlier, all these charts, like 80-90% of them, when I looked it up online, because I do research, I add the little charts I added, I look them up, Google and whatnot, images, and most of the charts do not include meat. And so if you're in a doctor's office, what do you think you're going to see? You're going to see the chart. Oh, but if you get, pinto beans, that's like worse than the black beans. Better to eat black beans because it's a little bit better in the glycemic index. And if you could get wild rice, that's better than white rice. Like if you're accomplishing something, it still turns into sugar. And so part of the problem is, of course, the medical system. But is it a problem? It's not a problem. It depends where you're at. If you're a pharmaceutical executive and you're trying to sell drugs, you don't want to educate people. You don't want your medical doctors, who are basically your sales team, for the pharmaceutical companies. You don't want your medical doctors actually educating people, actually telling them that, if you do a carnivore diet, you can probably reverse the type 2 diet. I mean, you don't want that, because then they're not going to need to take the drugs. And so what do? You provide products and services, and you invest in medical education like pharmaceutical companies do, of course, and you provide free charts that medical doctors can post on their office that don't even show meat as an option. And so people look at it and, oh, if I eat the wild rice, it's better than the white rice. Oh, we got to start buying some wild rice. Like, come on. It's crazy. So I don't blame one person. It's a system. And, we do live in a capitalistic society. You got to be aware that behind what medical doctors know and tell you is a pharmaceutical-based education. They are medical doctors, and they're taught to give drugs. They're not taught to actually heal and prevent. They're taught to maintain. And if you have type 2 diabetes and you continue to eat rice, beans, fruits, vegetables, you're going to continue to have type 2 diabetes. That's a fact. And I have zero regrets for telling no to a beggar, giving him rice and beans, because I know that in reality, it's not good for him. And I couldn't educate him in that moment. Maybe I could have said something better, or just said, hey, I'll buy you a piece of meat, and just given him the piece of meat. I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have even eaten it. I don't know. He wanted his rice and beans, and he got it from the next person in line. So anyway, that's what happened there. Thank you for watching this edition of Subconscious Fat. Feel free to give me your opinions on what I did here in this situation. But I think I did the right thing, and I'm defending it, and I'm doubling down on it. Because I believe in sometimes you got to do the right thing. It's a hard type of love. You can't just give in to the addiction. And I do believe carbohydrate addiction is actually a real thing. Thank you for watching. I'll be back next Monday with another video, and Thursday with Mr. Skeptical. Bye.